Welcome to the final lessons for the populations and sustainability topic. This lesson is on environmentally sensitive ecosystems, and it's not just one, it's actually 4 different ecosystems in your syllabus. So let's go to the syllabus then. Here it goes. You need to know the management of environmental resources and the effects of human activities, to include how ecosystems can be managed to balance the conflict between conservation, preservation, and human needs, and the effects of human activities on the animal and plant populations and how these are controlled in environmentally sensitive ecosystems, which are the Galapagos Islands, Antarctica, Snowdonia National Park, and the Lake District. So we're basically looking at 4 ecosystems that are really environmentally sensitive, and you are going to be focusing on the effects of human activities on the animal and plant populations and how these are controlled in these ecosystems. So, environmentally sensitive ecosystems are fragile and less resistant to change than others. For example, mass tourism can bring economic vitality to an area, but can also bring changes like overdevelopment of coastlines and loss of biodiversity. These ecosystems will be lost unless there is a control of human activities. Management techniques that have been done in these ecosystems include limiting the areas tourists can visit, allowing other areas to be preserved and not touched. 2. Controlling the numbers of livestock and other domestic animals. 3. Introducing anti-poaching measures to stop people hunting wildlife and eating them. 5. Replanting of forest and the native plants to encourage more biodiversity habitat. And limiting hunting through quotas such as laws and seasonal bans. So, our first environmentally sensitive ecosystem is the Galapagos Islands. So let's find out where they are. So, the Galapagos Islands are a group of islands off the coast of South America. Exactly here. Here they are on line with the equator, and it's a group of islands that have come about completely separate to the rest of South America. Therefore, they have got completely separate animals and ecosystems on there. The islands consist of 6 main islands with many more smaller ones. Some are home to humans, some are completely left to animals and wildlife. The islands are unique and have had millions of years of evolution placed upon them. The species and fauna and animals that live there are found nowhere else on the planet and are unique to the Galapagos ecosystem. These include some tortoises, some marine iguanas, and blue-footed boobies. All these animals are found nowhere else on the planet. So, some brief history then on the Galapagos. You might have heard them from Darwin's expedition. So, the Galapagos is an archipelago of volcanic islands in the Pacific Ocean, 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador. They have never been connected to the mainland. Therefore, the flora and the fauna there crossed hundreds of kilometers of ocean, either on typhoons and debris of rafts and tree trunks uprooted, and that made their way there by ocean currents. Darwin visited the islands and developed his theory of evolution by natural selection. So, what animals are found on this unique ecosystem? Most animals are reptiles. There is one land mammal, the Galapagos rice rat, and this species arrived here from the mainland, floating probably on vegetation a few million years ago. Over millions of years, these animals and marine birds that arrived have adapted to their environment in isolation, resulting in many species that are unique. Species include the Galapagos giant tortoise, which is over 150 centimetres long and found nowhere in the world. The flightless cormorant, whose reduced wings were better for swimming underwater when flight was not needed to escape predators. And the marine iguana, which can swim. They have black or dark grey skin, which allows these ectotherms to bask in the sun, raise their temperature to 36 degrees, and then this allows them to swim and dive into the cold seawater where they hunt for food. The higher the temperature, the longer they can forage. Plants on the Galapagos can be divided into 3 distinct regions where they are found, and these support specific plant species. You have the coastal zone, which contains salt-tolerant plants, such as mangrove. You have the arid zone, which contains drought-tolerant species, such as cacti and the carob tree. And then higher, you have the humid zone, which contains dense cloud forest. These trees support populations of mosses and liverworts. So, control of human activities. Until the 19th century, the islands were hardly visited by humans. However, as a result of the whaling trade, this all changed. The whalers disrupted the island's fragile ecosystem by stopping there to restock on food and to basically restock their ships while they were hunting whales. They also allowed domestic animals to roam loose. Goats, dogs, cats, and other domestic animals. They also chopped forests for fires to render down the whale fat and remove tens of thousands of live giant tortoises, whose meat would sustain the whalers on their long sea voyage due to their ability to survive for long periods without food or water in the hulls of the ships. Then, after 4 to 5 weeks at sea, the seamen, the whalers, would have fresh meat to eat. The goats they introduced have also outcompeted giant tortoises on many islands, so are a real problem. If you watch the Alien Invasion on the Islands BBC video on YouTube, you can just get a grip of how introduction of a foreign species, goats, where an island had been untouched for millions of years, had a dramatic effect on the only other herbivore on the island, the tortoises. These obviously hadn't adapted and therefore got out-competed very quickly due to inter-specific competition of the species for much of the vegetation. This led to a dramatic decline in the goat So the Galapagos is a unique place. It's environmentally sensitive. As you can see, one of the main things is they have this amazing wildlife and tourists come to see that. Some sad things that the tourists have brought with them are other plants and animals from mainland South America and other places. And this can cause all kinds of disruption to the ecosystems on the Galapagos Islands. Can you now please answer question 3, page 317, and questions 1 to 3, page 310. After you've done that, can you fill out the learning mat on the Galapagos Islands? So the next environmentally sensitive ecosystem is Antarctica. This is the coldest, windiest, driest, highest and emptiest continent on the planet. It's almost entirely covered with ice sheets with averages 2 kilometres thick. This ice sheet contains around 70% of the world's fresh water. The average temperature in Antarctica in the winter is below minus 30 degrees. Unlike most parts of the world, Antarctica has just two seasons, summer and winter. During the summer, many parts of the continent experience 24 hours of darkness. Again, just to reiterate, this is an environmentally sensitive ecosystem, and we need to look at the effects of human activities on the animal and plant populations and how these are controlled in the Antarctic. So again, Antarctica has its key animals and organisms present that are found nowhere else in the world. This includes whales, seals and penguins. They are endothermic and rely on all their blubber to insulate them. The emperor penguin is the only warm-blooded animal that remains on the Antarctic continent during the winter. Females lay one egg in June and leave it to spend the winter at sea. The male penguins stay on land, surviving the most extreme winter conditions for up to 9 weeks. With no food, keeping the egg warm by balancing it on their feet and covering it with a flap of abdominal skin. Few invertebrates live on the continent all year. The largest is a wingless midge. Here we have an emperor penguin. Plants present in the Antarctica. Plants can only grow in the ice-free region, which was around 2% of the continent. Lichens and moss grow on the sand and rock and the weathered bones and feathers of dead animals. Algae grow in sheltered areas, but this is all changing. The control of human activities in the Antarctica. Apart from a few specialised scientific establishments, Antarctica is too cold for people to live. However, in the last 100 years, increasing numbers of tourists have been visiting. Most visit the Antarctic Peninsula, accessible from Chile, where the climate is mild in comparison with the rest of the continent and there is much wildlife. Although visitors are there for just a few hours, human activity has had a number of effects on the continent, and this is again looking at why it's a really sensitive ecosystem. So it's this slide that's really important that you need to get down, and this is the bit where you've got the management of environmental resources and the effects of human activities on this ecosystem. So the planet. Wide impacts such as global warming as caused by human activity is resulting in some parts of coastal ice sheets to break up. Obviously the melting of the Antarctic. Hunting of whales, seals and Antarctic fish has also depleted stocks, which also is linked with sustainable fishing, the overfishing. Soil contamination around scientific research stations. Seeds and algae and things have come off people's shoes and landed in the ground of Antarctica. End discharge of waste into the sea, including human sewage from these places, has also caused pollution. So this is the important bit where you need to know how these human activities are controlled in these environments, the effects on human activities. So the Antarctic Treaty was made in 1961. The treaty aims to protect the unique nature of the Antarctic continent by promoting scientific cooperation between nations, protection of the Antarctic environment, conservation of plants and animals, designation and management of protected areas, management of tourism. An interesting article that I saw recently was this one, where it said Antarctica, due to climate change, what's happening is Antarctica is becoming green. The greening process in the Antarctic Peninsula is due to global warming, along with the increase in tourism in Antarctica, may result in more rapidly in the colonization of invasive species, thus causing rapid changes to the zone's ecosystem, which would therefore affect its flora and fauna. The study looked at human impacts threaten not only species but the entire ecosystem, which could collapse under stress and reduce the biodiversity. And this was due to basically global warming causing the ice to melt, which would result in a macroalgal bloom, which would then change the kind of ecosystem off the coast of Antarctica, and this could affect all different species. But again, this is happening, and this is all due to climate change, and also humans, tourists bringing invasive species with them on their shoes and boots and stuff. Okay, now you've done the Antarctic case study, can you please answer question 2 on page 316? It's a data analysis question about the impact of ecotourism in Antarctica. And then do the summary questions 1 to 4 in page 315. Can you then complete the Antarctic learning mat, please? Thank you. Okay, halfway there. So this is the third one, and it's a bit closer to home. This is National Park, is again another sensitive ecosystem that you need to know. It's Snowdonia National Park, found in Wales, where Mount Snowdon is. Okay, so it covers 2,000 square kilometres, has the highest mountain range in England and Wales, including Mount Snowdon, includes lakes, fast-flowing rivers, woodland and heathland. So, some of the fauna and flora present in the Snowdonia region is unique, since it's a sensitive ecosystem. So, let's have a look. So, some of the animals present in Snowdonia. The coast and estuary birds, choughs and cormorants and oyster catchers. We have forest birds, such as the pied flycatcher, the redstart and the wood warblers. In the moorland, we have mountain birds, such as ospreys, buzzards and sparrowhawks. There are over 40 species of land mammal present, including badgers, voles, deers, hedgehogs, foxes, rabbits, etc. So they're the animals, and some of the plants. Snowdon, a lily at the top of Mount Snowdon, as well as other hardy Arctic alpine plants that have evolved to survive extreme conditions. Also, lower down the slopes of the mountain is fringed with woodlands of oak, alder and wych elm. So the important bit, how this sensitive ecosystem is being managed. So, Snowdonia National Park, it was created in 1951 to conserve the biodiversity of the region. 25,000 people live here and work the land. Several million visitors a year, climbing, walking, cycling and doing water sports. The Park Authority aims to conserve and enhance natural beauty, wildlife and cultural heritage of the area. Promote opportunities for understanding and enjoyment of the park, enhance the economic and social well-being of communities within the park. And a way it's done this is it's built a hydroelectric power station inside the mountain leader and it's made it inside tunnels and caverns, which has minimised the impact to the environment whilst meeting the human demand for energy. And again, it's a sustainable way. You can't see it. It's not an eyesore. It won't be giving off pollution, as it's a hydroelectric power station. It creates energy for the local villages and towns, and hopefully it won't affect that many wildlife habitats. But again, this is an example of sustainability and managing the impact of humans in this ecosystem. Again, could you try and answer the questions regarding this sensitive ecosystem, the Snowdonia? And you can begin to have a go at the learning mat on Snowdonia. So here we are, the last one, the Lake District in England. The Lake District. This is England's largest national park, over 2,000 square kilometres. It contains Scafell Pike, England's highest mountain, and Wastewater, its deepest lake. There are regions of moorland and fell and 16 lakes dammed by glacial moraines around the end of the last ice age. There is a rich variety of habitats in the dales, fringes of the lakes, and areas of ancient woodland. So I'm sure many of you have been to the Lake District. It's absolutely beautiful, loads of beautiful wildlife and unique habitats there. So What animals are in the Lake District? Well, you have water voles, natterjack toads, bats, red deer, golden eagles, and osprey. The red squirrel is under threat as the vendant species of fish only found in this regions, which appears on the IUCN endangered list of animals. So therefore, it's a really sensitive ecosystem. Plants present in the Lake District. The rare habitats that exist above the tree line support Arctic alpine plant communities, such as the purple saxifrage and the alpine cinquefoil. Specialised trees have evolved in these harsh habitats, such as dwarf juniper and dwarf willow. Lower regions are home to sundews, a carnivorous plant that traps insects with sticky drops. Enzymes are then secreted to digest the insect, releasing its nutrients for the plant. All these plants are unique to the Lake District, so therefore it's a really key environment that needs protecting. So due to the Lake District being a national park, it does have a large amount of visitors. So let's have a look at the control of human activities in the Lake District. The Lake District National Park Authority is like Snowdonia to conserve the region while enabling access to millions of visitors each year. This is done through active management such as replanting native tree species. This fragile ecosystem is being secured for generations to come. So as we come to the last slide of this last lesson of this topic, I just want to make sure you really do understand this. This is all about the management of environmental resources and the effects of human activities on animal and plant populations and how these are controlled in environmentally sensitive ecosystems such as the Galapagos, Antarctic, Snowdonia and the Lake District. If you can answer questions 1 to 3, page 310, towards the Lake District and the Snowdonia National Parks, and you can fill in the learning mats as well, that would really stand you in good stead for any questions that you could get on this next year. Thank you and goodbye.